This is your before and after story, where your first steps towards a new life-changing career begin. Southeastern College can take you there. We offer in-demand hybrid and online programs with hands-on training, led by in-field career professionals, and career services to put you on the path to a rewarding and fulfilling future. This is where your transformation begins. Southeastern College, your future is bright. Visit sec.edu to get started.
You are about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Doc-Dali, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So you're going to see headlines looking at vaccination rates and how it's stalling in terms of more kids getting vaccinated. It's been stalling, in fact, reversing in some places. And so many countries are nervous because globally, they have seen that the situation is getting worse where we have fewer children getting vaccinated. Maybe it was worsened by the COVID pandemic. Maybe it was worsened because people are worried about the side effects. Maybe it's decreasing because of access. But people are really concerned about tuberculosis, polio, measles. We in America don't vaccinate necessarily for tuberculosis broadly. That's usually done in other countries because of the efficacy of the TB vaccine, the cost, and we don't have tuberculosis as rampant. It is rising because of the open border the last few years, but other countries vaccinate for tuberculosis more than we do here in America, and it's mandated in multiple countries. We do polio, measles, and polio. I mean, absolutely, we need to make sure that sucker never comes back. Polio was scary, where parents would kiss their kid goodnight, and then the next day their child would be paralyzed, sometimes not being able to breathe. So, but this vaccine skepticism, vaccine concerns about vaccines, this is something that public health officials need to not just ignore, blow off, insult parents. They need to actually look at what is going on. And I had said years ago, if we screw around with the COVID vaccine and start mandating it and start lying to people about risks and benefits, even though I do believe the vaccine had benefits, the way it was rolled out and mandated and people getting fired for not taking it, I said, look, you're going to have parents rip their kids out of school so they don't have to vaccinate against anything. They're going to lose trust in all the vaccines. And now we have such a rising population exponentially of kids not being vaccinated at all because parents think that the government has been lying to them. And we called it. So when we have diseases and we have an ability to prevent the disease, obviously we want to jump on those opportunities. If you told me that my kids would not get polio if they got the shot, I'd say sign me up, and I did. And they got their polio vaccine and their MMR and their other vaccines. But people are not necessarily, public officials are not talking to parents about what their skepticism is. They think that, well, Bill Gates is putting in nanobots, and that's not what these parents are thinking. There might be some with conspiracy theories, but when you speak to the average parent, they're like, look, I've seen other family members or kids have side effects from the vaccine, and it's my job to protect my kid. So if I bring my healthy kid in and I let you stick something in them and then there's a side effect, I could never live with that. My child wants me to keep him healthy. Well, we doctors and public health officials say, well, that's why you vaccinate, to keep them healthy. You'll feel guilty if they get a disease that you didn't vaccinate for. But I, as a physician, and there's not a lot of us out there, totally understand and can empathize with the parents' concern that they are bringing a healthy, happy child in to have something not once injected, but multiple times injected into the child's body. And so one concern that a lot of parents have is this: I don't have to just make this decision once and be done. I have to do this every 2 months when they're this young, 2, 4, 6, then year. There's some of them that we miss at the 15-month. Then I have to do it again at 4 years old. Then they have to get another booster and another booster. And it's not just one little baby shot, it's multiple. And parents are concerned. So if we're worried about infectious disease coming back because we have less enthusiasm as it pertains to vaccination, what is the answer? What do we do? Well, one thing we may need to do is look at how we take 6 or 7 vaccines and make them one or limit the number. Now, many parents were bucking the chickenpox vaccine years ago. Like, I want my child to get chickenpox the natural way. Why would I give them another vaccine? Some parents said. And so the argument was, you don't want the chickenpox virus in their body. Chickenpox can still cause some serious side effects, scarring, blisters up and down their GI tract, and it could come back as shingles. And parents, after they saw what chickenpox did, they embraced the varicella vaccine. It took a while, but that's another one. And so when you have a parent who's concerned about vaccines and you show them the list of everything the patient has to get, they're overwhelmed. And even parents who are pro-vaccine say, gosh, Daliah, I wish there were fewer. It makes me so nervous how many times we have to stick my child. They're not wrong. Every medical procedure, any medication dosage, there could be an increased risk. Well, I can't say this for sure, but when the Z-Pack came out, the antibiotic came out, people were so happy because rather than a 10-day course of antibiotics or a 2-week course of antibiotics or a 7-day course of antibiotics, the Z-Pack knocked that down to 5. And then the Tri-Pack knocked that down to 3. Well, the only issue is we started to see more side effects, cardiac side effects and other side effects, GI upset because of the higher dosing and fewer days. The penicillin allergies that a lot of people think they have might not have necessarily been a penicillin allergy. It could have been that the child had a virus and was misdiagnosed with strep because they weren't testing back then. But we also saw penicillin allergies follow a big, huge shot of penicillin being given. So sometimes the bigger the dose, not always better. So we got a lot of work to do. 1-877-DOC-Daliah.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So, I'm going to be leading into another topic, but I got an email on how people are looking at doctors and their bedside manner, and doctors don't seem to joke around, and they seem to be very robotic and very guarded in their conversations, and how the bedside manner of medicine is dropping. Bedside manner of doctors has always been mixed. I trained under people that were just dry and boring and couldn't crack a joke. You know, somebody like me is a rarity in medicine because you can get yourself into some sticky situations. Like it was Halloween. I didn't do this, but a lot of people in the hospital wanted to dress up for Halloween when I was in training. Well, how do you do that when you are, you finish a code, somebody died, and now you have to tell the family that somebody had died and you're dressed up in a French maid costume, or, and so because you have to assume that any day or any patient encounter could be serious, we can't always keep it light. I like to make people feel happy. I like to make people laugh, but there's a time and a place. But another thing too, that is also changing is the video recording and the audio recording. Anything you say can or will be held against you. And so if you're trying to get a doctor to talk about their political beliefs or make a comment, they have no idea if you're taping them. They have no idea if you're videoing and so they're going to be very brief. They're going to only say what needs to be said. And they don't want to get themselves in trouble. There was a doctor who, gosh, I don't know the whole story, but some of the students told me there was a doctor who took care of some porn stars in his clinic, and they would talk freely, and he had a good relationship with them, but what they would say was, offensive to people who were listening or could hear them. And so he might have had a good relationship with the one person, but when other individuals like students were around that and they felt uncomfortable, they complained, and this person got in trouble with the board. And so, you just don't know who's listening. And so a lot of doctors say, I'm just going to play it safe. I'm just going to play it safe. And now this doesn't just relate to doctors. It also relates to non-doctors. The text messages, you have no idea if, like with Sean Diddy Combs, your texts are going to be on trial and evidence in a case where you're accused of abuse or racketeering or kidnapping. And so I am blown away by seeing the texts that some people make. I've had family members that have just gone off the rails in a text, and I'm like, you really want to put that in writing? Delete it. Deleted texts still have a memory. They're still... And so, it's, this is why the younger generation, it's interesting. I hear baby boomers and Gen X's say, I don't get texts from so-and-so, and they're Gen Z or they're younger millennials. And I go, they don't text. They go, but isn't texting a young thing? Why am I texting if they're not? Because they don't put things in writing. They know that text can be held against them. They don't want there to be, but they also don't call, and they don't have phone conversations either. They just don't answer. Or if they do, it's very short. It's a very limited, like LOL or something like that. It's kind of scary, the world we're living in now, where you could say something or somebody makes a joke and they make a joke and it later is deemed to not be that politically correct. And if you laugh to be nice, now it looks like you are taking part in a joke that's not politically correct. I mean, these are things that also look how scary it is, where there could be somebody from your high school sending you a nude pic. And if you accept that picture, that's now child porn. So you need to either immediately reject it or have proof saying, I don't want this. Don't send it. Or it's something to protect yourself. Don't send me pictures, because now you could be in trouble. So it's definitely a different world, different landscape, different. But, the Sean Diddy Combs trial, I have not been following that closely. From what I understand, this all stemmed from that 2016 incident where he was at the Intercontinental Hotel in L.A. And there was video footage of him allegedly assaulting Cassie Ventura on, I guess, the 6th floor near the elevator. And he was allegedly grabbing her, throwing her to the ground, dragging her. It was horrible amount of abuse that you saw in that video. And then the federal trial has now looked at allegations of trafficking, kidnapping, abuse. From what we understand, the prosecution has dropped the kidnapping and certain sex trafficking charges. According to TMZ, also, I think they dropped the attempted arson, because allegedly, I think Kid Rock's car was lit on fire, but they couldn't necessarily directly Kid Cudi, sorry. I'm sorry. Kid Cudi's car was lit on fire in retaliation for the relationship with Cassie, his girlfriend, and they couldn't prove that. P. Diddy's defense had a very short witness list, if any. They didn't call Diddy to the stand. I think they think that the prosecution's case is very weak, and they didn't necessarily need to incriminate themselves. So they, again, said as little as possible. And they just showed text messages between the alleged victims and Combs on, their consensual relationship, etc. I don't understand the concept of freak offs. I'm not in that scene. When you hear what some of these other people do, you're like, really? Don't tell me we're supposed to be doing that now? Oh, gosh, no. So to me, very overwhelming. I'm very, very glad I'm out of the dating world and I don't have to do that. But it's, if any of these women were forced and coerced and felt like they had to do it, that's sad. That's frightening. What the defense argument is they wanted to be there. They got money. They got attention. They got access, and it was something they could leave at any time. They wanted to be there, and that's tough, because witnesses, if they say no, I didn't, the jury wants to believe them. But what if somebody changed their mind because they didn't want to look like they were there for the money? And it's frightening to think that, there's individuals that are forced and trafficked and in these situations. So, if these alleged victims were in those positions, we need to support them and help them. And the jury needs to believe them. If they were consensual and now saying they felt they were forced, now that hurts other victims who are really there not by their choice and are really trafficked and kidnapped. And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this case, because, since Me Too, there's been a lot of back and forth on who's lying and who's not. Who are the real victims and who's not? And somebody who's not a victim saying there's a victim really hurts the real victims. But it's also complicated. Many people who are victims will not come out and will not try to fight it right away. Many people who are raped are in shock and they can't feel like they could fight it. And so many people in these situations try to find the path of least resistance to get through. and then find a way out later. And somebody will misconstrue that as, well, it was consensual. Not entirely. I felt trapped, and I needed to be able to get out as safely as possible. And so, I don't know what went on. I don't know anything about freak-offs and some of the, sick sex stuff that some of these stars and celebrities want and do. That's how they party. I don't know. But we have to make sure that we don't have victims. We have to make sure we don't have non-consensual individuals. And sadly, we have many relationships that include, people who, like the financial benefits of being in a relationship or dating somebody that usually wouldn't date somebody who's a 10, but that person takes care of them like a sugar daddy or a sugar mama. And because there's all these different types of relationships, it makes it really, really hard for a jury to be able to discern what exactly the relationship was. But what is not debatable is what many of them saw in that video of Cassie Ventura being attacked. 1-877 Doc Dali. Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dali, 1-877 DOCDALI. So one of the reasons why I really don't like the extremes as it pertains to politics is I think it makes people lose their mind. And this blew my mind, where a California vice mayor basically taunted the gangs, saying, "Where are you? And why aren't you stepping up and combating these ICE raids? You really want to wake up the gangs and get them involved?" So this clip from Cynthia Gonzalez, vice mayor of Cudahy, which lies southeast of Los Angeles. She made a video on social media calling on local street gangs to stand up to the raids by ICE agents. Now, the clip was posted on Instagram and then deleted, but it's already all over the news. And she says, "I want to know where all the cholos are in Los Angeles. 18th Street, Florencia, where's the leadership at?" She says, "Because you guys are all about territory, and this is 18th Street, this is Florencia. You guys tag everything up claiming hood, and now that your hood's being invaded by the biggest gang there is," she says, "there ain't a peep out of you." She said, "It's everyone else who's not about the gang life that's out there protesting and speaking up. We're out there fighting our turf, protecting our people, and where are you at?" She says, "Dude, they're running amok all up on your streets and in your city, and peep, when the big gang guns come out, nothing but quiet," she says. "And we're out here, the regular ones that have never been jumped in, out here calling things out," she says, "and trying to organize people trying to do the right thing. So she says, don't be trying to claim no block, no nothing if you're not showing up right now, trying to help and organize. She says, I don't want to hear a peep out of you once they're gone, trying to claim that this is my block. This is not your block. You weren't even here helping out. So whoever is your leadership over there, and then she cusses, get your members in order. Now, she doesn't necessarily, according to the Independent, say ICE, but she's implying that during these other protests and riots, if non-gang members are out there, why aren't the gang members, who apparently she considers a vital part of her community, she's mad that they're not showing up too. I would like to see that sort of passion, telling the gang members to not steal, to not do violence, to not commit crimes. That's what I would like to see. I mean, if you're going to actually have a conversation and a discourse with gang members, then why don't you use that opportunity to tell them to not do gang activity? But no, it's, why aren't you here working for us and working with us? It was very odd. And so I think now she's going to be investigated. It was a stupid thing to say. The Department of Homeland Security said the comments made by Vice Mayor of Cudahy, California, Cynthia Gonzalez, are despicable. She calls for criminal gangs, including the vicious 18th Street gang, to commit violence against our brave ICE law enforcement. She said that kind of garbage has led to more than 500% increase in assaults against our ICE law enforcement officers. Secretary Nome has been clear: if you assault a federal officer, you will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. So from what we understand, Gonzalez has been refusing all media requests. But this is just really confusing. I mean, it's more about you really want to bring gang members to your peaceful protest that can then later turn into a riot, and then some of the people that you are representing could get hurt when the protest turns to riot. You see, what I am seeing with these extremes, from the psychology of it all, is people start to lose sight of what the goal is, and they make the goal the politics. They don't care if they're hurting people. They don't care if it, in the long run, hurts their vote, hurts their side. It's the here and now. Yeah, I've had patients ask me, about, why the Democrats are pro-abortion as opposed to GOP members, because if there's 1 million abortions a year, and Democrats have been very pro-border and getting people to come in and having more votes, why would they support 1 million abortions then? Those could be future Democrats. And it's because, well, the here and now is they want federal involvement through Roe v. Wade, although many pro-choice people don't want federal involvement. They want the feds to stay out, which is why Roe v. Wade being reversed kind of pleased some people on the pro-choice side, because they're like, okay, the feds are out. Now all we need are the states out and we're good. So people sometimes don't even understand what they are supporting. Another thing that's very shocking is when you look at the proportions and the demographics of these babies who are being aborted, it is lopsided, including demographics that shouldn't be have that bias towards. And so if you're seeing underserved people lose their babies more, don't you think you want to help those communities and help prevent the unwanted pregnancies? And so what is everybody fighting for? And how are you helping those? Are you actually helping the underserved? Are you helping those individuals who need help? Or is this just about, okay, well, this is what the Democrats think, this is what the Republicans think, so this is what we're going to do? So I found this to be really stupid. And I understand everybody wants to get, she now got her 15 minutes of fame. Now everybody, I don't know who Dulles is, but now she's, all over the news. But that you're really going to taunt gang members to come to what is supposed to allegedly be a peaceful protest, and then instead, you want them there, and then when things go bad, now you have gang members that could get ticked off and and become a part of the violence. Come on. It sounds they're desperate for numbers. Going to gang members and taunting them to show up means they need numbers. Maybe they ran out of money because they were hiring. You hire companies. A lot of these protests are hired people, where people make money to be there, and there's companies that will sell a crowd. So people are spending thousands of taxpayer dollars to bring crowds in, to have these crowds there. Maybe they're running out of people or running out of funds. So they want people to come out of where they're hiding. Well, maybe the reason why you're running out of people is because it's not popular. Look at how the Iranian sleeper cell concern has now changed focus, where we are now finding individuals with criminal pasts that could possibly be activated by Iran after the Iran-Israel conflict. And we're finding individuals with horrible, who were supposed to even be deported during the Biden years that weren't, that are still here. I don't understand why people in America don't understand that America voted for us to have more security, for us to get illegal criminals out of this country and to secure the border, which, Trump and Homan and Noam have done an amazing job on. So, for those of you struggling to get your cause and get enough people, my recommendation is please don't go to the gangs. Please don't go to individuals who do have criminal pasts or who could be violent. That's a bad, 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 bad move.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit, and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOCDALI. So one of my listeners started to feel a little tingling after he had some celery and asked, is that a food allergy to celery? It could be. I don't like any tingling in the mouth. When somebody starts to feel any sort of tingling, I want to make sure it's nothing neurological, like a mini stroke. Or a stroke, could be a food allergy. Celery is interesting because I think some people have a cross reactivity to kiwi and other sort of citrus. And, food allergies, they're pretty complex. You have some people with food intolerances where they might get gas or they might not be able to digest something. That's different than an allergy. An allergy is when your body has a reaction where you might itch or you might have vomiting, you might get hives, you might have trouble breathing or wheezing. Sometimes a food allergy can make you cough, and sometimes a food allergy could get so bad that you could get tongue swelling, you could get a tightness in the throat, difficulty breathing, go into shock, you could die. Food allergies are scary because not all food allergies have to have been with you since birth. You could develop them later in time. And you're going to be hearing an interview about how we have doctors and specialists and groups trying to help supply schools and daycares to make sure that they are ready and prepared in case they have a child that could have a food allergy, because no parent wants to see their child go into anaphylaxis or a severe allergic reaction and die as it pertains to food. What are the most common food allergens? Well, according to the the American College of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology, 90% of all reactions include the following types of foods: eggs, milk and dairy, peanuts, tree nuts, fish, shellfish, wheat, soy, and now sesame has been added. I think they added the sesame a couple years ago as the 9th major food allergen. And tahini, there's a lot of things that have sesame that you might not know. A lot of things have soy. Peanuts, look at all the struggles we have in terms of peanuts and peanut butter and peanut sauce. So, one thing we talk about is how some individuals that may have allergies, like if they're children, they may not necessarily be complaining of the same sort of allergic symptoms that adults do. So we need to be aware. So, we're going to be talking about food allergies with Dr. Hoyt, and definitely we have to make sure that schools are aware, have epinephrine auto-injectors, because epinephrine can help reverse the anaphylactic reaction. And we also need teachers and educators and parents to be aware of some of the subtle signs that can happen when we do have a child that could possibly be allergic to something. So we're going to have the interview with Dr. Alice Hoyt coming on in just a couple seconds. So here we go. So severe food allergies can be life-threatening, and we hear of case after case of a child eating a cookie or eating a sandwich and sadly going into anaphylaxis, a severe allergy. Infants, toddlers are particularly vulnerable, especially because they can't communicate their symptoms. Food allergies are most prevalent in kids 1 to 5 years old, and they say more than 60% of the kids in this age group attend childcare. Now, when a child suffers from an allergy, they may not appear like an adult does, where they have the itchy skin, or they say, I'm feeling teary, or they might have abdominal pain. They might have a runny nose. They might start rubbing their eyes. So we need to really investigate and be a lot more aware of what's going on as it pertains to food allergies. Supported by Kaleo, the Early Childhood Anaphylaxis Collaborative. It's a new multidisciplinary group of child professionals, healthcare providers, parents, advocacy organizations that have brought together 103 advocates across the childcare community to make a difference in anaphylaxis preparedness. And the collaborative is equipping early childcare leaders with the knowledge and tools to recognize and respond to severe allergic reactions among young children in their care. They include guidance on when to stock epinephrine, that may not be prescribed to a specific person, known as undesignated epinephrine. When is that allowed? When is it legal? While most states have laws that allow or require stocking undesignated epinephrine in K to 12 schools, this doesn't necessarily apply to early child care centers universally. Legislation known as Elijah's Law has been passed in several states supporting these same goals, allowing centers to stock undesignated epinephrine and requiring staff training on how to recognize an allergic emergency and how to administer epinephrine. We are very, very excited for our next guest, Dr. Alice E.W. Hoyt from the Hoyt Institute of Food Allergy, to talk to us about this. Dr. Hoyt, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
What is the Early Childhood Anaphylaxis Collaborative, and why is it important for child care centers and parents of young children to be prepared for allergic emergencies?
I'm really excited to partner with Kaleo on this collaborative. What the collaborative is a group of organizations that have come together to support early child care professionals, healthcare providers, families, and other advocates in really supporting early child care centers to be prepared for allergy emergencies, specifically anaphylaxis, which is a potentially life-threatening reaction. Given it is life-threatening, it's really critical that our early child care centers be prepared for this type of reaction that upwards of 5 to 10% of these young kiddos are at risk of experiencing. And so the Early Childhood Anaphylaxis Collaborative is a great way to get these centers ready for the emergencies.
What is epinephrine? Can you expand more on undesignated epinephrine and why it's important for early child care centers to have access to it?
Well, epinephrine is the treatment for anaphylaxis, and what undesignated epinephrine is, also called stock epinephrine, is epinephrine, an epinephrine device. It's pre-dosed epinephrine that's prescribed to the center to be used on anybody who's having an anaphylactic reaction. So if a kiddo didn't know that they had a food allergy, or maybe they didn't have their own device available, that center, if they have undesignated epinephrine, they have the life-saving medication available for that child.
What should be included in an anaphylaxis response plan? And what can child care centers do to help protect kids?
Early child care centers can have anaphylaxis response plans that are going to help protect their children. What a plan really should entail is two parts. One, a knowledge component that's really making sure that all early childhood staff know how to prevent and recognize an allergy emergency. And then the second part of that response plan is really being able to manage the emergency. So once you recognize that a child is having anaphylaxis, be able to administer epinephrine in a very timely fashion, very promptly, to help provide that child stability to treat that reaction.
What resources are available to those who join the collaborative?
What's so nice about the collaborative is it really is a great group of organizations who for many years now have had the mission of helping communities be prepared for medical emergencies, specifically anaphylaxis. And so once a child care center or a parent joins the collaborative, they're going to be given access to so many resources that allow them to take those next steps to really be prepared for an allergy emergency.
This has been so informative. Dr. Hoyt, where can we go to learn more?
You can learn more at ecacollaborative.com.
Dr. Hoyt, thank you so much. We cannot wait to have you come back. We really appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you.
All right, guys, don't go away. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI.
Can you believe, with all the recent violent protests, looting, and destruction, some areas are considering either defunding or abolishing the police? At a time when America's neighborhoods need the protection of police the most, some elected officials would rather create more chaos by playing politics. If you're sick of elected officials caving in to demands of the radical left, you're not alone. It's time we stand up and declare our support for local police. The majority of police officers are important partners in protecting our God-given rights. If you prefer freedom over chaos, then learn how you can help protect the local police that serve your community. Call today and request your free Support Your Local Police info packet. Dial 800-JBS-USA-1. That's 800-JBS-USA-1. Request your free Support Your Local Police info packet by calling 800-JBS-USA-1 today.